Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. Welcome to Building Wealth Together, where our goal is to help you walk in abundance and leave a legacy. It's Mindset Monday, where we take the best teachings on mindset, motivation, and leadership and apply them to your life. This helps you get past the past and grow forward into abundance. Let's get into it. I want to welcome you back to Mindset Monday. We're going to continue our series on why your hard work hasn't paid off, the power of persistence. What I'm going to share with you is a challenge. I've got a free persistence challenge, and you can download the materials you need. You should have a sheet to fill out your reading and what you got out of it each day. And then you should have that chapter so that you can actually read that. But again, we're not in a Think and Grow Rich class yet. We're going to be starting one in September. If you want to do it, that you can. If you want to pick something else, that's fine. Just write it in on the top of your thing, because it doesn't really matter what it is you pick. It just has to be something you're not already doing. I guarantee you're still going to fight. You're going to fight all the reasons why you can't do it tomorrow. You're going to fight all the reasons why, on day 12, when you don't feel like it, you're like, well, I'll just skip today and pick up tomorrow. And it's like, no, if you break a day, you need to start over, right? Like it doesn't matter what you pick, just pick something, right? But pick something that's going to further your dream, further your business. Maybe you want to write a book, and you want to write a book, but you really don't know how to get started. 10 minutes a day, just using some journal prompts and writing. You can find a variety of journal prompts online. You can go through my Building Wealth Together Facebook group, and you can find all the little memes that I've posted with inspirational quotes, and you could just pick one a day, 10 minutes a day. I'm going to write every day, 10 minutes a day. Maybe you want to start a podcast and you don't like the sound of your voice, but you feel like you have something to say. 10 minutes a day, recording yourself saying something and then playing it back and recording it. Whatever it is, maybe you're an artist and you want to expand your skills, but you don't have money to take the classes you need to take. Maybe you could spend 10 minutes a day researching other people and how they do their things on YouTube. Okay. Maybe you've got maybe you've got some kind of issue in your life, and you've been struggling with it, and nobody in your circle seems to understand, or nobody in your circle knows or has ever dealt with it or knows how. They give you all kinds of advice, but it actually isn't helpful. 10 minutes a day praying and meditating about it, or authentic journaling about it. These are all things that you can do. But if you don't know what to do, if you don't have a business you're trying to build, if you don't have kids you're trying to spend more time with, if you don't have a husband you're trying to appreciate more, then go ahead and read the chapter once a day for 14 days, okay? No, you can't read it 14 times in one day. Once a day for 14 days. And if you do this and you fill out the challenge sheet, then I will gift you a $99 new course value. And you are really going to love that. We are restructuring how I do everything, and it's going to be phenomenal. All right. So this is a really powerful exercise. I think it's great. Someone once told me, I don't know how to give you the results that you want, my results, if you're going to try and do it your way. And I was a little salty about that, to be honest with you, because I thought I was something special. But one of the things that Hill says in this chapter one of the things that he says here in this chapter on persistence, and if you have this book from the last time we did Think and Grow Rich, okay, so that's the Amazon proof copy. I didn't go get me a regular copy. I think I sold them all. But if you get it off Amazon, it's the same book. It's a reprint of the book with my little preface that, hey, this guy wrote this in the 1900s, so some of his stuff is not PC, right? Line 57, your subconscious mind works continually while you are awake and while you are asleep, okay? So spasmodic or occasional effort to apply these rules will be of no value to you. To get results, you must apply all the rules until their application becomes a fixed habit. And no other way can you develop the necessary money consciousness. And I would really apply this to any other area of life. We think that things like getting healthy and relationships and all that are about the standard calories in, calories out, and being the perfect spouse, but it's really about the mindset. And what he's saying here, no matter what it is that you're trying to do, doing it every so often isn't going to help you. And I'm the queen of that, right? Like, I'm the queen of taking a month and really going gung ho about my podcast, and going gung ho about my blog that I used to have, and going gung ho about anything. And I'll spend all Saturday prepping everything for the next 2 weeks. And I'm really into it, really into it, really into it. And then the next, couple of days, it's like I let everything slip. And you say, well, how are you gonna move forward? That's just smart. You're just working smart. But what I'm realized over the last couple of years, and what really made a change in my business a couple years ago, was saying, okay, I can't be inconsistent. I have to show up every day, and I have to do everything that I can do with every day. See, we can't say, oh, I'm going to just give 70% today, and then tomorrow I'll make up for it. Because each day you only get 100% effort. And this is even more real to me ever since my car accident that changed a lot of things. Because with that car accident, until the Lord heals me, and I look forward to the day that he does, I don't have the energy that I used to have. I don't have the stamina that I used to have. And I have to be judicious about what I spend my time on. And so if I am not going to give 100% today, I'm not going to be able to guarantee I can do anything tomorrow. And even if I could get it done tomorrow, you still can't give 130%. Every day gets 100%. And every day you should give 100%. Every day you should give your all to be everything that God created you to be. Woo, I'm preaching to myself today. All right. So what I want you to understand is that a lot of the reason our efforts have been of no value is because we haven't been consistent. And it's interesting because he says no value. Now, he could have chosen to use the word some value, but he chose no value, none. Because let me tell you something. Starting your newsletter, going gung-ho for a month, being done for 6 months, and then coming back to everybody and saying, well, I got sick, or this happened, or that happened, it's no value. You practically have to start over. Spasmodic or occasional effort will be of what? No value. To get the results, you got to show up every day until it becomes a fixed habit in you to show up every day. And I don't know how long that's going to take for you, okay? Because I told you, I wrote the book on 10, 10, and 10 9 years ago. And guess what? I still struggle to do 10, 10, and 10. Now, do I feel off when I don't do it? Sure. But is it like brushing my teeth? Not yet. Some people, they work out every day for 21 days and they're like, oh, I got a new habit. Well, you know what? I've been working out almost every day for years, except for the time that I couldn't work out for that car accident. I've been working out almost every day for years, and it still hasn't stuck because everybody's got a different battle, right? But you got to make up a mind that you're going to do what you got to do, whether or not you want to do it. This goes right back to the teachings that we've done on autosuggestion, discipline, and the stick person. Who remembers the stick person? Man, I should have brought him out. Maybe I'll draw him again. We've already decided what's going to be, what's going to be important to us and what's going to work and what isn't going to work. So we're not going to do what somebody else said is going to work because that subconscious has already made up its mind. And then for a lot of the stuff that we've been doing, we've been lying. Like I said in the beginning, we've been lying to ourselves for so long that when we start taking new action, oh, you know what our subconscious says? Our subconscious says, oh, here we go again. We're going to put forth a whole lot of effort. We're going to spend a whole lot of money. We're going to get ourselves all sweaty and tired, and we're going to get our hopes all up. And then after a month, we're going to quit. So, you know what we're going to do? Instead of letting her go through all of that, we're just going to cut it off at the pass. We're going to nip this in the bud. This is what your subconscious has been saying. When you lie to yourself all the time, like you're going to do something and you never do it or you don't sustain it. This is what my subconscious was saying all these years when I would try to make a change. We've been down this road before. Let's just sabotage. The subconscious doesn't call it sabotage. The self-conscious looks at it as protection. It's saying we've been there, done that. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to waste time, energy, or money on something that's not going to work, something that's not going to go anywhere. It's something that's just end up another failure in a long list of failures. So guess what? We not going to do it. And then everything in you refuses to cooperate. And what's worse is the energy around you refuses to cooperate. All the people that loved you start bringing in things you shouldn't be eating. All the people that didn't want to spend time with you when you try to attend to your business, all of a sudden they want to spend time with you. I was cracking up at my family the other day because they were complaining. My son was complaining that I was spending too much time on my business. We had arranged that, I've been teaching Thursday nights for years, right? For 7, 8, 9 years now. And so I was like, Thursday nights is going to be my night. But I had trainings and I had this mastermind and that mastermind, and it was eating into the evenings. And so I finally said, okay, fine, I'm going to clear out all this stuff. And so I'm like, every night I'm like, okay, what are we going to watch? What are we going to play? What are we going to do? And they're all like, no, we got our own thing. And so I was like, look, by the end of the week, I was like, look, y'all said you wanted more time with me. I gave you more time. And then when I went back to work, everybody's like, oh, I got to talk to mom. I got to talk to mom. I got to talk to mom. I got to talk to the wife. And so when you try to make a move, everything that can be used to derail you will be used to derail you. See, the enemy knew he couldn't throw some of y'all at me to derail me because some of y'all aren't going to motivate me to get off the business train and stop doing what I need to do. But the enemy knew that little cubby wormed his way right in there. My first miracle baby, I got 2 of them. My first miracle baby, Philly Bob PK, wormed his way, and he's bad about it too. And he's a sniper too. He come along, but mom, hey mom. And I'm just so happy the teenager's talking to me, right? Like I just get all into it. And then I'm like, I was supposed to get stuff done, right? So he knows you. And your subconscious knows you. And it's time you started telling your body, started telling your mind, started telling everybody around you, started telling yourself that you are committed to yourself. Something is going to grow in the garden of your mind. And if you're not intentional, and guess what? Just because you plant the beautiful flower, it doesn't mean that the weeds won't grow. The weeds will grow all around that beautiful flower and eventually kill it if you don't do something consistently every day. And we've talked about this idea. It's the idea of taking the helm of thought. You got to continually place yourself in an environment conducive to your growth. You've got to nurture. And as James Allen says, in As a Man Thinketh, you've got to cherish and nurture and foster your dream. You've got to cherish it and nurture it and foster it because it's under attack. It's under attack from your old programming. It's under attack from family and friends and people who have a lower level of awareness. And most of the time, they're not trying to tear you down. I mean, yes, there are petty people out there, but most of the time they love you and care about you and just want to keep you safe. They're operating from a lower level of awareness, and that's the best they can do. Your dream is in a fight for its life. Remember, life is a fight for territory, and you can't afford to give any portion of your mind an inch to doubt or to fear or to worry. That's why spasmodic or occasional doing it is a waste of time. Going to the gym a couple times a week. I'm going to tell you what, a couple times a week doesn't get it done. Doesn't get it done. Might get it done when you're first starting out. Doesn't get it done for me. Dieting 1 day a week doesn't get it done. It's about consistency. You know, one of my mentors told me about the time he paid $1.5 million to run some radio ads on Rush Limbaugh's show. And even if you don't like Rush Limbaugh, I know he's passed away. He had about 51 million people listen to him, right? So somebody liked him. But part of the deal was that this mentor and John Maxwell would meet with Rush so they could make sure, that they were a good fit, because Rush was going to read the ads live. And so they're there at the office and they're getting along. And then Rush says to John, so you've written 125 books, right? You've traveled all over the world, trained people in every country, got 20,000 coaches everywhere. You speak, people listen. So if you had to teach people one lesson, what's the one most powerful thing you could teach me? What's the one thing you would tell me? and it's interesting. John didn't do like most of us. John didn't say, well, that's a good question. Let me think about that. John, with no hesitation, leaned in and said, never underestimate the compounding effect of consistency. And Rush leaned back and said, you are dead right. I knew that, but I never thought of it. And this is why I'm encouraging you, as I have been with all of the classes. You want to go through these lessons again and again and again, especially if it's new to you. Because when I was growing up, I know my parents did the best they could, but I didn't learn this kind of stuff. I know that my teachers did the best they were equipped with, but I didn't learn this kind of stuff. And even if the stuff was out there, honestly, I was that kid in school that the teachers didn't care about and didn't like. Like, I was that kid they all just wanted out of their classroom, right? I wasn't trying to be, but I just was. And let these classes be the soundtrack of your new life. Let it roll, let it play, let it get into the marrow of who you are and begin to counteract all of that negative programming that you're not enough and you're never going to be enough. There's so much wisdom as we go through these, and even the ones that I put, some of them I put a real biblical spin on, and some of them I try to keep real secular, but all of them have so much wisdom. And I would like to just rewrite the whole thing, but I find that wrestling with the way that these great authors have put the words together, I find that it does something for us. I can strip this down and teach you the book in 15 minutes, but it won't have the same impact on your life. Okay? And so, one thing you might do, so it's going to sound vain, but I'm not trying to be vain. It's because I don't know enough other Holy Ghost filled people who are teaching this stuff. And I don't like to have things in my head when I'm not awake that aren't from people who are Holy Ghost filled. Right. And so sometimes I will literally just read stuff and then I will play me reading it while I'm trying to sleep. Like if everybody's snoring or something, I will play me reading it, because it, even if it's barely audible, that subconscious is hearing it. And it's taking it in, and over and over and over, that energy of what you're taking in is slowly drowning out the energy of what you've been told all your life. And the energy, let me tell you how you've been told these negative false belief systems. Okay. You've been told these things that are hindering you now. If you've been victim of abuse, if you've been victim of being extortion, if you've been all of these different things that go with being a victim, they have their root when we were kids and our parents didn't protect us. Our parents didn't care about us. Our parents didn't teach us how to think for ourselves and stand up for ourselves. Or we took so much negativity in from the culture and the TV and the drama that we let all of that program us even before we were old enough to know how to challenge it. And when we got old enough to challenge it, the programming was already set. And so then we never knew we could do something about it. I'm not going to judge you at all, because I was in my 30s before I realized I could do something about it. So for me, I've had to play catch up. And for me to stay in that energy, I have to be in that energy all the time. I have to know that the Lord created me to do a good work, that He's fully resourced and equipped me to do everything that He's called me to do. And I have to remind myself that He loves me and that He's called me over and over and over. And 7 figures, 8 figures, one day I'll hit 9 figures. It doesn't matter. That's still running in that background, and I got to drown it out. And over time, teaching this stuff for a couple of years, it's the old programming is so small, but if I'm not careful, it doesn't take long for it to worm its way back up to the forefront. All right. So you've got to stay focused. And I guarantee you, if you will be persistent every day, you will be amazed. It's the compounding effect of consistency. Okay. So this principle is a lot different from some of the other things that I teach, because out of all of them, all the other ones are like principles. Desire is a principle. Imagination is a principle. This one is the state of mind, persistence, and he does define that as a state of mind. Okay. So everything else he's talking about is persistence. And so, you kind of think that persistence would be like imagination, right? Like where you do something, you would think persistence because that's how you be persistent. And he's saying it's a state of mind. And most of us aren't used to being persistent. It's not a doing thing. It's not an activity. This is why willpower doesn't work. This is why so many New Year's resolutions fail, because it's not about willpower and discipline. It's about the state of mind that I don't care what's coming my way. I am going to nurture and cherish and feed my dream. It's not a doing thing. It presents itself as a result of you doing things, but it's a state of mind. And it is tied closely to responsibility and decision. But this is a you and you deal. And this is where I ask, are you coachable? I get a lot of people come up to me and they want me to help them launch programs like this. And, I'm happy to help people get started in business. I'm happy to help people move forward in business. But it's like, hey, are you going to commit to you? And I always recommend certain things based on who the people are, right? And one of those things that I recommend is a DISC survey. And I'm certified in many of these personality assessments. MBTI is actually my favorite, but it's a little complicated for a lot of people. So I usually start off with DISC or True Colors, but DISC, True Colors, all those different things, right? Fire B. A lot of times I'll recommend somebody take DISC. I'll usually recommend that for a reason, because I see something of me in them where I remember when I didn't understand how different personalities act. And you can hear me. Those of you on Clubhouse, you can't see me, but you can hear me. I'm a very energetic, in your face, loud, direct kind of person. And I have to know that when I'm dealing with a client who doesn't score high on the D scale or doesn't score high on the I scale, I need to tone it down some. Okay. And so if I'm recommending this to you, and I always find it funny because people are like, oh my goodness, it's $25. And I think, other people pay $150 for it, right? And whether you get a $25 assessment from me or somebody else, right? Like, I think I'm going to be okay. Your $25 is not going to make a big difference for me because it all goes to the John Maxwell team, right? And like, people pay $150. I charge corporate rates of $199, but I give it to my students for $25, right? But they're always like, well, I've already done that, or I've done it before. And I find myself asking, are you coachable? Because you told me you'll do whatever it takes for your dream. And I'm saying, as a coach, as somebody who's walked through this journey, as somebody who's gotten out of a significant amount of debt that most people have never even seen, as somebody who bounced back from divorce, bounced back from abuse, has 2 miracle babies. I think I'm like, what is that? Farmers insurance. I know a thing or two. And they tell me I'll do whatever it takes to grow this dream. I'll take whatever it takes to grow this business. And I'm asking you to spend $25 on an assessment and you won't do it? And I'm like, okay, do this. Do something. Be persistent. 14 days. Well, I'll do 90% of that. Maybe me doing 90% of that, shouldn't that be good enough? I mean, I don't know. All I know is I did 100% of what I did. And I know I didn't start getting results until I started doing what my mentors told me instead of always trying to do it my own way. Someone asked me, how did I get out of $845,000 of debt that was run up in my name? But then when I tell them they don't want to get out of debt that way, but you didn't ask me how to get your results. You asked me how to get my results. And I always laugh at that. And I don't mean to be mean. I keep saying I laugh because I like to think that I don't laugh at anybody in their face, but it's just like, how did you get out of all that debt? Side hustles. And most of the money that I made, I'm going to tell you this right now, for those of you who are new to me, because I know we've got some new people watching on YouTube there. Um, for those of you who are new to me, most of the money I used to get out of debt was through picking. Where you find something at garage sales and consignment stores, and then you get it at a really cheap price, and you turn around and resell it. And then when I had enough of that taken care of, real estate investing. It's really not rocket scientist. Not rocket science. And I know because I'm a rocket scientist, right? Or when people ask me, well, how did you turn your life around when your world came crashing down after that divorce or after those 2 car accidents in 8 months, which totally ruined my job? And when I tell them what I did, I'm like, it's really simple. I asked the Lord to help me, and he led me to mentors who took me through the same stuff that I'm taking you through. And I worked with my mentors to take this stuff and package it and offer it to my audience because it was so powerful in my life. And then people are like, oh, no, I'm not going to do all that. Or they ask me, hey, I want to launch this program. Can you have me on your podcast? Can you support my business? First thing I'm thinking is, have you ever bought anything from me? Because if not, but whatever it is, they're like, what do you think I should do? And I'm a generous person. So if you come to me with a thing, I will respond. I will shoot you back an email. I will shoot you back a text. If you ask a question on a class, I will do my best to answer it, right? But I'll say, I think you should do this, but I've never said, girl, here's what I think you should do. And I think you only need to do 90% of it. So you pick and choose. You know what I mean? Like, I've never said that. Like, I've never said, take what you like doing out of all this stuff I'm going to tell you. But see, I can't tell you that, because whatever the 10% you don't like, that might be the one you need. I this is why I'm a better public speaker than coach, because I'm very direct, and I'm just like, look, if you don't want to do it, that's fine, but you're paying me to tell you what I did, and you're paying me to help you, whether if you're paying me in a mentoring capacity or if you're paying me in a coaching capacity, you're paying me to push you, right? And so I'm telling you to do something, and sometimes people say, well, how did you do this? How did you do this? And I'm like, just do it. Just do it. Follow your intuition. Let it tap into the spirit. Learn how to interpret that, and I really realized that my greatest blessing, and this is a secular class, but I am in the ministry. My greatest blessing is discernment from the spirit and from the mind of God to me. And I'm getting better and better into tuning into what God is telling me to do. And I know God's voice in my life. And through most of the time in coaching, I will ask questions instead of telling you what to do. But when it comes time to actually mentor someone and say, here's what I think you should do, I know I'm right. There's no opinion about it. Now I'm not saying that I'm always right for where everybody is in their life, but if you come to me and we've had these conversations and I've asked the questions and I've seen your thought process, I'm either going to tell you something that I know is the right thing, is going to move you forward in your life, or I'm not going to say anything. Because I don't want to be a false preacher. But it's also one of the reasons why I can make decisions very quickly. I know that most of the time I'm going to be right. And that sounds, and you say, oh, that sounds so arrogant. But once you get in the habit of trusting the Lord, and once you get in the habit of being persistent, once you get in the habit of being consistent, you will be able to have the information you need to be able to make those decisions too. And I don't always know how I know I'm right. I just trust the Lord that I am. And when you've been walking with him long enough, then you know that you're right, that you do hear his voice. And my husband has learned, when there's times when I'm like, I got a feeling. There's no evidence that I should be right. But when you back up, I guess that's one good thing that came from all those car accidents, right? Like, I'm really learning how to trust the voice of the spirit of my life. Like, I should have learned that the 23 years I've been in ministry. But really, when you have your own capacity taken away, your energy, your mental capacities, your ability, like that one time when I couldn't lift my arm for a couple months, when you have all those things taken away from you, you have no choice but to lean on the Lord. So when I'm telling somebody to do this, it's not about 90% of it, okay? It's not about reading 10 days in a row and then skipping the last two, and then I'm going to read it twice a day for the last 2 days. It's about doing something every day. Because if it's something you really want, then why are you trying to shave off the steps that have worked for other people? Now, I will say, some of this is ego. Because I used to be a 90%, maybe 50%, right? Because I thought I knew better. But the honest truth is, I wasn't getting better results. Your life is the sum of your decisions. If you don't like the results you're getting, then you have to come face to face with the fact that those decisions are what gave you those results. And for me, it was my ego. I was always trying to prove how smart I was, always trying to prove I was good enough to sit at the big kids' table. It's like, I see what you're saying, but I'm going to interpret this way because I think I know best. I can see how that worked for you, but I don't think I need to do that part. And you know what I've discovered as a pastor and a financial coach? I've learned the only thing that's worse about somebody lacking awareness is having somebody who thinks they have it. And I was the worst. I thought I had awareness and I thought I was this and I thought I was that. And it wasn't until years later that I could look back and be like, oh my goodness, this is where I was. All right. So for those of you who actually have the Think and Grow Rich book and my version of it, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's see. Where do I want to start? We're going to go right here. He says on line 122, one thing we all know is if one does not possess persistence, one does not achieve noteworthy success in any calling. It doesn't matter what you're going to do. If you're not persistent, if you don't persist in this state of mind, and again, this state of mind is a level of consciousness. It's energy, it's frequency. It's a frequency of consciousness. And we have a thing where we talk about the 7 levels of awareness, and this level is a critical one. It's the ability to give yourself a command and follow through with it. That's what discipline is. And later on, I think we'll do a deep dive on the 7 levels. Maybe I'll add that in. During the summertime, we don't have a specific class. I'm just doing different teachings. It's one of those things that, we've got to understand. It's a characteristic that will make or break you. You will not reach success without persistence. And even my son's like, yeah, but so-and-so had a viral video and now they're millionaires. I'm like, I doubt it. I doubt they are. Okay. So, let me switch to another page because there's something else that I want to make sure. I see that I'm taking a little longer than I wanted to. And I want to make sure we get to this here. Okay. 177, persistence is based, like all states of mind, persistence is based on definite causes. And so there's a worksheet for all of these causes. Okay. And so if you pre-register for the fall Think and Grow Rich class that's starting in September, you're actually going to get the recordings of last year's class. And then you'll get all these worksheets that go along with this. It's actually only $99 right now. So the ultimate price is going to be $499. But you all know how I work. Before we launch the class, you get the lowest price ever. And so it's only $99 now for pre-order. So you want to jump in on that. But you can listen to last year's, well, it wasn't last year. It was the year before. You'll be able to listen to that class, but you'll get the worksheet and we go through the definite causes. So we go through definiteness of purpose, desire, self-reliance, definiteness of plans, being very clear about what you want, right? Accurate knowledge, whether you have the knowledge or you have somebody else on your team that has the knowledge. Cooperation, because this method that I teach of building wealth is all about collaboration and cooperation, not competition. Willpower and habit. Okay. And so then he goes on. Okay. In he's defining persistence and he takes it through through them. But then here's another list in line 205. And these are the symptoms of lack of persistence. So if you see these in your life, then you know that you've got some persistence issues. There's a series of questions and statements, and I encourage you to go all the way through. I encourage you to go get the handouts to this. I encourage you to buy the class, get the handouts, and actually sit down and walk through them, because it's really, really easy to say that I'm persistent and I'm insistent and I'm everything I'm supposed to be. But remember what I said before, how you do anything is how you do everything. And a lot of us, we've been making it look good over here, but we've been inconsistent and not persistent over here. Okay. And so here are the weaknesses. He says in line 211, here are the weaknesses which must be mastered. And these are the symptoms of lack of persistence. 1, failure to recognize and to clearly define exactly what one wants. This is a big one. One of the reasons most of us don't have what we want out of life is because we've never been clear about what we want. And I used to really resist this concept because I thought that it was contrary to my Christian faith. I will discuss at some other time how this aligns with what the Lord is telling us in the Bible. But I want you to understand that you are more likely to get a move of God in your life if you will be clear about what you want Him to do. You know, it's kind of a morbid example, but I remember when I was so frustrated about that car accident. And one day I was praying about it. And I remember what the Spirit brought back to me is, well, you prayed that you would get 100% disability without having to lie. I was like, well, that's not exactly what I meant, Lord. Because, you know, everybody talks about going into the VA and faking up their things because legit people don't get credit for the disabilities and all the shots and stuff that we get in the military. So they kind of have to advocate for themselves, but some people take it a little too far. And I was like, that's not what I meant. Anyway, lack of procrastination with or without cause, usually backed up with a formidable array of alibis and excuses. Remember that quote? Remember that quote that I used to post? If it's important to you, you will find a way. If it's not important to you, you will find an excuse. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Lack of interest in acquiring specialized knowledge. This is interesting because we think, oh, I'm too this, I'm too old for that, I'm too feminine for that, I'm too masculine for that, I'm too fill in the blank for that. Okay. Indecision. Oh, the habit of passing the buck instead of facing issues squarely. Also backed by alibis. The habit of relying upon alibis instead of creating definite plans for the solution of problems. Woo, self-satisfaction. There is but little remedy for this affliction and no hope for those who suffer from it. Isn't that interesting? Now, I'm not talking about self-satisfaction to be contrary to God's word about godliness with contentment is great gain. I think I can be a content person. I think I am a content person, but I'm not satisfied with myself. I know that there are always higher heights and deeper depths. I know that I can grow closer and closer to the Lord. And I know that He has called me to do so much more than I'm currently doing. And so I'm seeking to grow into and live into all that He has created me to be. All right. All right. Number 7, indifference. Number 8, the habit of blaming others for one's mistakes and accepting unfavorable circumstances as being unavoidable. Number 9, weakness of desire. Number 10, willingness to quit at the first sign of defeat. Number 11, lack of organized plans. Number 12, the habit of neglecting to move on ideas. Now, this is an interesting one because the ideas come to us and we get so fearful we don't move out on them. Okay. And I'm a big fan. You know, what is it? How does the scripture say? Try the spirits to see whether or not they are true. You know, I'm a big fan of having gates. You know, if an opportunity comes for me, like I just had an opportunity come my way tonight. It was $100,000. I'm like, you know what? I don't have that to spend in this area right now. So it's not for me. And I'm very confident. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to have fear of missing out. I'm not going to sit here and stress out about, oh man, I just hamstrung my business. No, I believe very fully that when the Lord wants me to do something, He will put in my hand the resources to do it. Okay. But then there's other things where it's like, okay, I have the resources, or I can try and generate them quickly. And Lord, if this is the way you want me to go, then I will try it out and I will get the resources and I'll move forward. And there have been some very scary commitments that I've made that I'm like, well, if this is the Lord, it'll work out. And if it's not the Lord, then I'm not going to proceed. And then it works out. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, let's go. But we have to get in the habit of moving on ideas when they come. Okay. Wishing instead of willing. Number 13. Number 14, the habit of compromising poverty. Compromising with poverty instead of aiming at riches. Woo. There's so much I could say on that. Number 15, searching. And all of these have more to them than what I'm reading. Okay. They have more to them than what I'm reading, but we need to wrap up here pretty soon. Number 15, searching for all the shortcuts to riches, trying to get without giving a fair equivalent, usually reflected in the habit of gambling, endeavoring to drive sharp bargains. And so that's one of those things. It's like, I friend a lot of people on Facebook that are like colleagues and peers and speaking engagements and stuff. But one thing I always think is hilarious is when somebody friends me and they immediately start trying to sell me stuff. And I'm like, the least you could do is buy something of mine first, right? You want me to do all this stuff for you, but you ain't ever supported me. I'm sorry, Number 16, fear of criticism. Okay. And fear of criticism has a very lengthy discussion because it's one of the biggest things that sets us back. All right. The thing is, people who are going to criticize you, this goes back to what I was talking about with my divorce. Okay. If people who are going to criticize you, they are probably going to criticize you anyway. Okay. They're going to criticize you if you win. They're going to criticize you if you lose. It doesn't matter what you do. It's always an excuse to criticize. Okay. So let's set that aside and go be who God has called you to be. There are no limitations to your mind except those that you acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of your thought. That is what Napoleon Hill wrote here. Okay. And I want you to keep it in mind. You have been created to do something amazing. You have been gifted and talented and resourced to be all that God has called you to be. It is up to you to learn how to be that person and walk in the fullness thereof. I'm JJ Conway. I want to thank you for being on today. That's all I've got for you today. So y'all take care and be blessed.
Love the podcast? Be sure to like, subscribe, and forward to 3 friends. You can ask a question or take a life-changing class at buildingwealthtogether.com. Now, go walk in abundance and leave a legacy.